All right, I think everyone's in. All right, has everyone had a chance to review the agenda? I'm sorry, actually, we should excuse Mary Jo first.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'll make a motion to excuse Mrs. Ord.
Great, thank you.
I'm coming. Oh, I'm Mr. Chair, I'll second that motion.
Oh, perfect. All right, so Mary Jo is excused. All right, has everyone had a chance to review the agenda?
Mr. Chair, I briefly looked over it and I am good with it.
All right, great. I think everyone else we're good to go. All right, first on the agenda, we have the minutes. Is any corrections to the minutes for the last two meetings? I'm going to take that as no.
I don't have any corrections.
All right,
I don't
great.
either.
All right, perfect. We'll go ahead and just approve the minutes then. All right, so the first thing on our agenda, we have the reschedule of the conditional use, and this has been on here for quite some time at this point. I want to go ahead and get a date basically scheduled again for our public hearings. Now, I was thinking August would probably be good. Does anyone have suggestions on when they might want to have this? Or really administration would be there. Ron, do you have anything that you want to, a date that would in mind for you?
I don't have a specific date, Mr. Chair. I would probably suggest, however, that we hold it in the second half of the month.
Second half, okay.
I would also ask that we avoid Thursdays because of the mayor's task force meetings.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Mosby, when is Planning Commission? The Planning Commission meeting for August.
I don't have it in front of me. Typically, the Planning Commission meetings are on Tuesdays. I believe it is the third Tuesday of the month.
I think that it may be a good idea to host it maybe right before Planning Commission or right after Planning Commission, as they're the ones that, you know, proposed this legislation quite some time ago. And I think that if there's going to be people well equipped to answer all questions, the Planning Commission would be great. Just a suggestion, but I think it would be cool.
All right. I think that should work. Let's do before the Planning Commission. So, Mr. Rose, can you get together what date the Planning Commission meets in August and schedule it? I don't have to be an hour, 2 hours before, or I guess after.
It could be 15 minutes before, 20 minutes before. Seeing how much public participation we normally have, I don't know if it's going to be a very long public hearing. And so.
Okay. Let's just schedule an hour before and then just call it a. Even though I don't think anyone probably will. But.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
For clarification, you're asking for the public hearing to be held an hour before the regularly scheduled Planning Commission meeting?
Yes, whatever time and date that it is.
All right, I'll talk with Mr. Knight, so then that way he'll know to plan it that way.
Great. Next on the agenda, I know not last meeting, but a couple of meetings ago, Mr. Mosby, we asked for estimate on completing entrance signages for Hamilton, Galbraith, Clovernook, Savannah, and Lavoido. I just don't, I'm assuming that it hasn't been completed yet.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's correct. I haven't completed that yet.
All right. Do you know if we can be completed prior to next meeting? So
Yes, I can get you a rough estimate for 6 signs. Yes.
all right.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I had an idea about that. I don't know. I've never seen it done before, but would it be like too tacky if you like found a business who would sponsor the sign, and you can just maybe put the name of the business and very small letters going across the bottom of the sign, so the sign would be maybe say welcome to North College Hill, but then at the very bottom, sponsored by Erica Underwood, attorney at law offices of Erica Underwood LLC, or something like that. And then the business would pay for that sign in exchange for having that little blurb at the bottom. Is that something that you've ever seen done or heard of being done?
I haven't seen it, or maybe I haven't paid attention to something that has that.
I mean, I don't know what it would look like, or, you know, I'm not talking about like big letters, but, you know, just something small.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not against it. So,
Mr. Chair, yeah. So I think what Ms. Underwood is referring to would be something very similar to what you see on highways when they adopt a highway, that there will be a sign, and then there is an organization that has adopted it, meaning that they are responsible for, you know, the maintenance of that area, and their name is displayed on the side, so it gets them basically some exposure or publicity. It sounds to me like what she would be suggesting is a business that would, in exchange for having it's basically advertising, but it would be placed on the sign, on the welcome sign. That has been done before.
Yeah.
Yeah. The business would actually be responsible for paying for that sign as well.
Correct. Right.
I mean, I'm not against it. Does anyone else have any comments?
No, Mr. Chair.
Mhm.
Real quick, just to give you guys an idea, if you guys go to the Walmart closest to Ronald Reagan, as soon as you pull out, there's a Coleraine Township sign, and it says landscaping and sign provided by blah, blah, blah landscaping company. So it's actually really clean and really neat. So I think we should definitely open it up and see what we can do with it.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Okay, so in that event, what I would ask, you know, Mr. Mosby, if you could maybe give us prices, you know, something that would include that, and then maybe we can try to see if we can get businesses to pay for the signs, and then that way we don't have to, you know, we don't pay, you know, there's nothing we're coming out of pocket for, including the installation.
All right. I mean, I think that's a good idea. See what how much it would cost, and then see if we can get some, just forgot the word, stores or to sponsor it. So looking next, we have the Tree City USA legislation and proclamation. So I sent you guys the legislation. It has not been reviewed by the law director yet. That's on my list next. If you guys are cool with it coming out of committee, we can move it to the law director to have it reviewed. And then also the proclamation. I guess I can send that to Tracy, or because she would have to be the one that actually signs it.
That looks good.
All right, cool. So I will send that to Bill, and hopefully we can have that prior to July's council meeting, hopefully. I would think so. And then I also sent you guys the updated just recently before the meeting started, the tree expense per capita. Ron was able to get that to me really quickly. I just sent that to him yesterday, and he got that back to me today with how much we spent on everything, that all the activities that are approved by the Arbor Foundation to actually meet expenses for trees. So we more than meet that requirement. It looks like we're spending about $5.13 per capita. So hold on one second. Sorry, guys. All right, sorry about that. You might hear my dogs in the background. So, all right. So, does anyone have any questions on the tree expense per capita? No. And then we also, once we have the proclamation signed and we've passed the legislation, basically the next step is the application for the Tree City. When we're able to submit that, I believe is September is when they're first taking applications. So we should be right on track to meet that application when it first opens in September. And then I guess I can send that to Ron. Would you want to submit the application with everything?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that, please?
Sorry, so the application for the Tree City, I believe it opens up in September. So once the proclamation is signed and the legislation is passed, we should have everything to go ahead and fill out the application and submit it. Do you want me to submit it, or would you like to go ahead and submit it once everything's completed?
I mean, honestly, it doesn't matter if council is, signing off on the resolution, like you said, after everything is completed, then we can, we can go ahead and submit it.
All right. Well, when we get there, we'll come back to it, make sure.
Right. Right.
Okay. I think that is mostly everything for Tree City. I think we're good to go to move forward with that. So then next, I know last meeting or the meeting before, we talked about the comprehensive plan, the cost that is associated with that. We haven't done one in quite some time, and I did read through. I don't know if anyone else had a chance to read through our comprehensive plan that I believe Jim sent out to us, maybe a meeting or 2 meetings ago. It needs a lot of updating. I think it's well over 10 years old at this point. So I think that's something that should be important, that we do have kind of a plan going forward to give us direction. I didn't know if that was something that everyone is interested in actually putting out an RFP for, to have a comprehensive plan completed. Maybe not.
Sorry, Mr. Hedger. I forget that I'm on mute.
Oh, me too.
Sorry. I would love to do our comprehensive plan. I would really, really, really like to get a grant to do our comprehensive plan, or reach out to Hamilton County Planning to see what they have going on. It needs to be done. I know, this is such an inconvenient time to be trying to do anything, but I don't know I don't know.
I agree. I think we can at least try to put out feelers, but I'm with Ms. Bailey. If I'd like to try to see if we can get funding for it some other kind of way so that we don't have. I'm just, I'm leery about paying for anything at this point, but I do want to try to. It definitely needs to be done. I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything that was said. I think we should be somewhat conservative with what we're spending, especially with everything going on. And I also want to ask Mr. Mosby, we did approve a grant writing line item in the budget. Has anything moved forward with that since the beginning of the year, or March, I guess?
No, we haven't. We haven't moved on anything. As I had shared with you all before, we were one of the things that we had done is stopped our spending only to that which was absolutely essential. Obviously, we're, excuse me, the finance manager and I are looking at now, what we can basically begin doing spending on, right now. So we are kind of prioritizing what it is that we, would have to get. And then again, basing that also on some of the things that council has mentioned. Although this is a finance, since you brought that up, I did want to at least let the members of council here that are in the committee know, but I guess I have to apologize for the last council meeting because I actually misspoke about something. In the Chief Fells and I had already determined a contractor and had actually already signed basically a letter of intent to begin the work on the roof in the fire department right before COVID-19. And so we actually already had those things in place. Subsequent to that, of course, I talked to him to go ahead and get it started. So that part I did want to apologize for, because like I said, I spoke incorrectly, but we still are prioritizing what we're spending right now, so that we just make sure that we're not overextending ourselves at this particular point.
All right. I guess that's more of a topic for when we get into finance meeting.
Right. But I was just saying that and I was expressing that, I'm sorry, in relation to the question that you had asked regarding the grant. It's still there, obviously, but no, we have not moved forward with contracting with someone to get that yet.
I guess the general question, to not get into detail about it, do we have any idea of where we are at so that we might be able to move forward with a grant writer, or do we still in the unknown?
So again, just, you're right, a brief overview that I'm sure Ms. Hall will go into more detail at the finance committee. But overall, as you all know, we knew that we took a big hit in May. So when we looked at June, I don't want to say that I would just say that we're cautiously optimistic that June is not going to be as severe as May was. And what we're also hoping for, projecting, is that in July, of course, because as you know, deadlines, the due date for taxes was pushed back to July. So we are anticipating that our July ought to be, greater than what we had initially anticipated. So basically, long story short, Mr. Hedger, we would probably be looking at sometime in August.
All right, that makes sense. Well, I don't want to go too much further. Sorry. Don't want to go too much further on the comprehensive plan until I guess we have more idea. Maybe, Mr. Rose, you just keep that in your back of your mind of putting together an RFP for something like that, so that we can, when we know where we're at with our budget, we know if we can move forward with a comprehensive plan or not. So next I have the Suicide Prevention Month legislation. I know that we said June, I believe, is something that needs to get on council here for July, I believe. Mr. Mosby, do you, I don't remember who said had it. I can't remember if it was Amber or Ron, if you had it.
Right.
Christian, I have it.
Yeah, we are. That's a good question, Mr. Hedger. We are originally, before everything hit, we were planning that the legislation would be passed by August, and then, obviously we would roll into September. Our committee has not met for a couple of months now, so we are actually behind ourselves. However, I would suspect that if council, and I'm basing this on the fact that, assuming that there would be no emergency clause added to it, if it were submitted, brought to council in July, that would be July, August, and then September could be voted on in the first Monday, and then that would be the month. And so, we could begin. We already have an overview of what we wanted to do, which was basically one program a week, but I think it would still be in time, in order to make it for September.
All right. I just wanted to make sure that we are on top of it, so at least that we can get that done. Looking here next, I have the beauty salon. Ms. Underwood, I wanted to get actually just to set a date with me and you to actually create that letter to send out to businesses. So
That sounds good. That way I can block the time to actually do it, because it's kind of on my to-do list, and then there's always somebody who jumps to the top of the list. So I would be perfectly fine with that.
all right, can we set a time now?
Absolutely.
I just want to get it done.
Absolutely.
All right, so what is your availability looking like for this week?
It looks like I'm today is Monday, right?
Yes.
Tomorrow I have availability, and I have some availability Thursday morning and Friday morning as well.
All right, mornings are not usually good for me since I have to work.
So we're gonna do afternoons.
Yeah.
Actually, Wednesday afternoon might work, and Friday afternoon would work.
All right, let's try probably Wednesday afternoon, I'm thinking.
Okay.
Can we do like, can we do like 5? I guess it's more of like evening, but
Sure, that's fine.
all right. Great. All right, so that's the first step for the beauty salon, so we can get that. Next, I have a Black Lives Matter mural. I think everyone has obviously seen what's going on in the nation for the past like 2 weeks. And I think we at North Cottrell should show our support for the Black Lives Matter movement, as well as just everything that's happened in this country for the past forever, basically. So I wanted to see about doing some type of mural. Somewhere I saw what they did in DC, which I thought was really awesome, was the Black Lives Matter Avenue and then painting the street. Obviously, I don't think it needs to be, I don't know if we can afford something like that large, but just something. So I wanted to throw out an open discussion about ideas of what that could be.
Christian, I think it's beautiful and brilliant. I don't necessarily know how we pull it off. I mean, maybe we do a cult of artists here in North College Hill and we start, I don't know, some kind of crowded fundraiser. I mean, I'll help paint, but I think it's something that we definitely need to do.
Yeah, I agree. I know my wife will volunteer for painting, so I will be out there to do whatever I can. So for a mural, I was thinking the Black Lives Matter, like the fists, was something that I've seen a lot of, and thought that could be something that could be put up relatively easy. Any other ideas?
The biggest question is, though, is who's going to let us do it?
Yeah, where? I mean, we could do it on the street, I guess.
I just
We
took a look
could.
at what you were referring to.
Yeah,
I hadn't seen it. It was kind of cool.
impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was thinking either do it something similar like on the street, on Galbraith, on Hamilton.
Ooh, Hamilton, because it's the Freedom Highway, Harriet Tubman.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yep.
Even better. So we should put that.
Yep.
I think paint that on it though too, like Freedom Highway. And then okay.
Maybe we do a silhouette of Miss Tubman.
I mean that's pretty fancy, but
I mean, a silhouette, like, I mean, you know.
I personally love Harriet Tubman, so.
Can you draw her?
No.
At a large scale.
Cannot draw her at a small scale. Cannot draw anything.
I like it.
Mr. Mosby.
Yeah, yes.
Do you have an idea of where this could be? Could we put it on Hamilton? Shut down, I guess, well, I guess a lane of traffic at a time to paint it. I don't know how we would do that.
I don't have anything, immediately. I don't know if is the mayor on? I don't think she is.
See her on
Okay.
there.
Because I would probably defer to, obviously what she would want to, what she would prefer in a situation like this.
Mm-hmm.
Now, listen, one thing I am going to be upfront and honest with, I know that it'll cause an uproar with some of our citizens, but to be honest, I really don't care if it does or not, simply because it is something that needs to be addressed here, there, and everywhere.
And then I agree. I don't think everyone's going to agree with everything that we do. So, but we are a diverse community, and I think we should show our support. So,
Agreed. And I'm sorry, y'all, I can't shave my head.
all right. Well, let me. I can reach out to Tracy. And see how quickly we can get this moving. Sorry, I'm just writing them down.
And just to be clear, though, we want this to be permanent or semi-permanent?
I was thinking permanent. I'm not. That was my thought, was permanent. Anyone else?
Sorry, I keep muting myself. I think the permanent thing is, I think that's a good idea as well.
All right. So we agreed on like Freedom Way. Any ideas on where we're at on Hamilton?
Sounds great.
Do you want to do it at the north entrance, south entrance?
I still think the dead center, Hamilton and Galbraith, if we're going to do it, let's do it.
That'd be great.
I mean, we just have to, in theory, reroute traffic, shut down an intersection, paint what we want to paint, upset a lot of people, and support the cause.
I think more people would be upset about rerouting traffic than anything else.
That's been done before. We can do it again. All right. Next on the list, I just kind of was wanting to see if, Mr. Rose, do you have an update on the Parks and Rec master plan? The legislation was passed back in, I believe, April. So that would put the due date for the plan by August, by the first council meeting in August.
Yes, I've already started doing some research on that. So,
Great.
Yeah.
Anything you'd like to share?
Well, I don't, I don't know whether or not I should put too much into it. I'll just say that, I one of the most important things that I've been looking at is obviously cost. What it would, basically what it would take to in essence run a either a recreation program or a parks and recreation program. That's the other part that has to be determined. Should that recreation program include the parks? Obviously, if that's the case, then that means that the that the facilities that Public Works is taking care of right now, obviously that would be under the jurisdiction of the Parks Department. And of course, the other thing that you had talked about before is obviously how is that going to be paid for? That's obviously the most important thing. We could put together obviously a great a program that could be $1 million program, but how is it going to be paid for? It's going to be the key.
Yep. All right. Just wanted to touch on that.
Mr. Chair, real quick though, I would like to say, Mr. Mosby, coming from just me, a member of this committee, I think the parks absolutely 100% without a doubt have to be included in this. This master plan definitely needs to include updating the parks infrastructure, all of the above.
I mean, in the legislation, it's wrote that way to include both parks and recreation, so it should be both parts. All right, moving on. So the next part is I do want to get, I know we've talked about a couple of different ideas for like community events. I don't know how feasible it is to get something put together for like late summer or say early.
I have an idea.
Yes.
So along that corridor, Goodman Street, if we could do some kind of food truck thing where we have food trucks parked along Goodman and we could block Goodman off. Obviously, if we, I don't know logistic wise, how people would access those businesses, but I think there's a way to get to all of the businesses on Goodman without actually driving down. I did mention I'm in a meeting, right? He's ignoring you. Sorry. Without actually driving down Goodman. So I was thinking with the food trucks, we could charge some kind of fee for food trucks to participate and then just kind of advertise it some kind of way and just put food trucks down Goodman and make it, like a thing.
I like that. That's a good idea. Just something to get the community out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that, Christian, I don't know if I forwarded you or anybody, honestly, the National Night Out program, but there are a lot of corporate sponsorships behind that. I mean, everyone from Starbucks to basically everyone. So I think that if we roll with National Night Out, there may be a chance that some of our costs could be offset by corporate sponsorships that sponsor the whole entire program. So
Yeah, I don't think I got anything from you, Amber, on that. Could you send that to us, to everyone, so we can look at that?
I will get it over to you for sure. If you go to nationalnightout.org, you'll see. And the emphasis of it is truly bringing the police department into the community, which I think right now is so important, that the message is out there that our police department is supportive of our community and our community is supportive of our police department. So I think that it could really, really work. But I will definitely send all of that over to you. I think it's something that everybody can get behind.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea. All right, let's look into the National Night Out. Do you know when that was? I think, did you say September last time?
No, I think it's October 6th. They normally do it in August, but with the COVID going around, they moved it to October. So I think it's October 6th.
All right. Let me look into that. And then, Erica, when we meet on, did we say Thursday? What day did we say we meet?
I'll have to look at my calendar right now.
Wednesday.
No, Wednesday at 5.
Meet on Wednesday. Maybe we can talk about what a food truck event would look like too, because I think we should be able to do both of those. We need to do something. We haven't done anything, basically.
Yeah.
So.
And with a food truck event, so right now a lot of, fairs and festivals have already been canceled throughout the state. Mm-hmm. And this is coming from my Fleaville life. So a lot of food trucks and crafters are looking for stuff to do and places to set up right now because they have nowhere, because what was normally on the schedule was canceled and it's too late to pull them back together. So we may have a really good turnout with it if we act fast and get the word out, because they have nowhere else to set up right now, or in sometimes for the whole summer. I mean, state fairs are, being canceled and other festivals. So we could probably definitely pull it off this year.
Right. No, I think
I
that's
didn't
great.
even think about potential like craft tables where people could sell their crafts. Like if we could use some of the parking lots and, we could space the tables, so I think that's doable as well.
Yeah, see, I think that where we shut down Galbraith for the car show is great. I mean, it's awesome. It actually brings people together, giving them like the small town community vibe. So I know that you guys are going to get tired of hearing me say this, but I think shutting down Galbraith, our downtown area, and supporting our local businesses during all of this and bringing out crafters and food trucks and even like those festival games, because we don't have the Catholic festival anymore either. I think that it would all be a really good
I agree with
neighborhood party.
It's probably a better location because it is more kind of a central business district. And
we have parking.
And there's parking, and it's really walkable, and it just looks nicer too. So, all right. Other than that, I don't have much left for today. I do have to cancel our next meeting, our regular scheduled meeting is in July. I'll actually be getting back from out of state that day, so I do not really want to have a meeting once I get right back from vacation. So
I'll actually be going on vacation. So,
All right, sweet. So that is that cool with everyone?
Yep.
We might
Yeah.
we might call maybe a special one maybe later in the month, just to get
Or
some,
maybe we,
or maybe
oh,
before.
well, no, Erica's leaving, I was going to say, or maybe we trade Mondays with public safety. But if Erica's going on vacation,
How
then
long?
that won't work either.
How long will you be gone, Erica?
I'm thinking a week, but we'll see. It's my birthday gift to myself.
Oh, okay.
Okay, well, happy early birthday.
All right. Well, we'll see what comes together for the rest of the month. Maybe we could squeeze another one in this month if we had to. But let's see what happens. Other than that, I don't really have anything else. Do you want to, I guess, adjourn?
Yep, we can adjourn, and then we use the same
Adjourn and
link
then
and phone number.
Just wait. Yeah.
And then just
Here you guys.
yep.
Great.
Cool.
All right. Great meeting everyone. I
Very
will
good.
see you next one.
Wait, we just kind of stay here until the next meeting starts, and then
Yeah.
Josh kind of takes care of it, right?
Yeah, I just
Okay.
Yep.
doing everything. So just mute yourself. You're good to go.
Just confirming that'll be at 7:30.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Hey Josh, are we ready?
Yep, you guys can go ahead.
Cool. Okay, guys. So in attendance, I'm going to assume Mr. Hedger made it from the last meeting and Miss Underwood.
Yes, we're here.
Cool. And then we have Mr. Mosby and Miss Hall. Sorry, I'm just assuming who's here. Mr. Mosby, you here?
He's here. I see his name.
Okay, and Miss Hall?
I'm here.
Okay, cool. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Cool. Okay, so sorry for getting the agenda out to you guys late. It's been kind of a rough week over here, but we're getting it done. I will catch us all up on minutes at our next meeting, and we'll probably have them to you prior for your approval.
The only thing I would say about the agenda, Amber or Madam Chair, I
Yes,
thought
ma'am.
that there was some kind of something that Ms. Hall wanted to present to us, but that's not on the agenda. I'm not sure. I just don't remember what it was. I don't write it down. It's gone out of my brain.
I understand, and Ms. Hall, I will definitely add you to the agenda. You can go first or last. It doesn't matter. But just for my minute purposes, Ms. Hall, what are you presenting?
I was just going to briefly just discuss high level where we are right now, just as an estimate. We haven't closed May yet, but just to give you an idea of where we are.
Awesome. Ms. Hall, if you're comfortable with it, I can add like a finance director's like section to the agenda. If you're gonna come to all the meetings, of course you're always invited, but just so that way you have space and time to kind of give us an update, I would actually appreciate that.
No, that's fine. That works out for me.
Awesome. Is everybody cool with that? Giving Ms. Hall, you know, time for, I don't know, I'm going to call it our finance update.
Absolutely, that's fine.
Cool. So what we'll do is before we go into the salary ordinance, we will lean it over. I will yield the floor to Ms. Hall, and she can give us our financial update.
Okay. I briefly discussed a little bit of this in my email to you, Amber, but I just wanted to bring this to everyone, just so that we're mindful of where our revenues are so far. We did discuss how May we had a hit financially with our income tax revenues, taking a hit at about 30% down from last year. So June is looking like it's going to be about 7% down, about $17,000 less than last year. I will know for sure by the end of the week what that looks like. But we are very cautious about what we're spending our money on right now. I went ahead and let Ron know that we can go ahead with the roof for fire. One, because that's in the budget, it's an essential item that we need to get done. They can't just have a leaky roof. And that we will kind of monitor going forward where their budget is standing after we get that done. We are discussing the police software, and I should be able to have some more information about that. I haven't called CMI yet, but we want to try to reach out to them to see if we can get another estimate on that. But I just really just wanted to bring to the finance committee that we need to be just kind of mindful of our extra spending right now because we don't really know what's going to happen. I know that with July 15th coming up, that most people should be paying their income taxes and we should see a boost in revenue. But again, with so many people being unemployed right now, it's hard to really even say what that's going to look like. So just to put that on your radar, just so that, you know, as we're having these discussions, just to be mindful of that.
Ms. Hall,
Yes.
do we know if what, or Mr. Mosby, do we know a potential amount that we are going to be able to apply for CARES funding to offset some of these costs? I mean,
For what kind of funding?
CARES funding, the CARES Act.
Madam Chair.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's actually, it's not an amount that we are going to apply for per se from the CARES Act. They have already determined an approximate amount that we will receive.
And that
So, based on the legislation that was passed, it should be for our city about $103,000.
and we were down 70,000 in May.
We were down. No, it was more like
We're down
90.
almost 100,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
About 98.
Okay, sorry, it was 70%, right? Or my
It
bad,
was
whatever.
30% down. This month for June, we're looking like we're going to be about 7% down. So that's about $17,000
That's
down
what it
from
was.
last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
So just to be clear, the CARES Act is basically a predetermined amount. What we would then do after we receive that would be to apply for any additional reimbursement from FEMA. So and obviously that funding would have to be only for items that were not, specifically covered with the CARES Act funding.
Cool. And then I think that I read that with that, it will have to be, we can only access it until October. So basically we have to use up the 103,000 before October or it goes back to the US Treasury, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, but clearly right now,
Okay.
we already know that, our spending has already exceeded that amount when we put everything together. Once we clearly receive it, what we will end up doing is taking those and applying those to expenses that we've already incurred, some of them that obviously we've already paid for, so that we can, so we can balance out, or at least be in better, so that our balance sheet can be in a better position.
Awesome. I just wanted clarification real quick, just to make sure that I understood. Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Christian? Ms. Underwood, no questions for Ms. Hall currently?
I don't have any.
No, no.
Okay, cool. So then let's move on to the salary ordinance. I believe I sent out an updated, corrected copy before our last council meeting to you guys, as there were some typos in this one. I would like to get this moving, and so we've already talked about numbers, and I guess now it's just cleaning it up on what I've left off of it or what we would like to see, other than the clause city employees can only hold one paid position within the city of North College Hill, as I am waiting for Mr. Dieters to get that back to me.
Amber, I think, do we have to add anything else other than what we?
No, I'm just making sure that after that's done, that we can move it out of committee to the council floor, that the committee agrees to move it out.
Sorry, I was muted again. I was looking through my email. So all of the corrections and everything is in the one that you most recently sent to us in the email, or are you saying that Mr. Dieter still has some corrections to make? I'm just trying to.
Okay, so I know that I had an extra number in one of the decimals that was caught. So all that we are waiting on is the legal language for the very end of section 1. And so as soon as he gets that back to me, are we cool with moving it out based off of his legal language?
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Awesome. Cool. So then, one second. Just making notes. So then we have Mr. Dieter's, well, Ennis Britton's potential there, his proposal at this point. I did send Ms. Hall an email, and Ms. Hall can definitely explain it better than I can, of some alternatives or what it would look like shuffling in order to pay his proposal. Ms. Hall, would you kindly explain to the rest of the committee what you had emailed me so I don't mess it up?
Sure. So essentially, right now, Mr. Dieters is being paid as a city employee, which means that includes OPERS, FICA. I suggested that keeping that law firm, but maybe going to just a contract to see if they'd be willing to do that, where we would pay a retainer for an X amount. For example, I think I sent her the example of, I think $4,000 a month, which would be about $48,000 a year. And it would just be on a contract, and that would give us 10 hours, I believe, of work every month, versus paying, I believe it's, what was it, 53,000 or 58,000 is the new amount, plus OPERS, plus FICA, and getting maybe 7 or so hours of work from the firm. I think we should keep the firm because they're here in North College Hill, and they're paying property taxes, they're paying payroll taxes. You know, there's a business relationship there. But otherwise, if we keep him on as an employee, we'll have to make some adjustments in the general fund, because that's an additional $24,000 in salary. Plus there will be an additional increase with OPERS and FICA on top of that. So there's some other ways to maybe think about it. You know, maybe you all want to kind of mull that over. But otherwise, if we keep him on as an employee, we'll just have to make some other adjustments on the general fund just to keep him on board like that. So.
I guess I'm a little curious, Ms. Hall, how much or how many hours does he currently bill us for outside of his like law director salary? Do you know?
So the budget shows that we have an additional $15,000 in legal contract fees that we pay on top of his salary. I'm not 100% familiar with that contract or what that agreement is. That's something that maybe Mr. Mosby can speak more to. But that is on top of what his salary is, which is like 35,000 plus OPERS and FICA and workers' comp. So we don't receive a bill that itemizes what he's doing, but just based on what we calculated, I believe in the last meeting, it's approximately 6 to 7 hours of work per month that we're getting.
Ms. Underwood
Yes.
and Mr. Mosby, excuse me if I'm wrong, but I believe the 15,000 is for the prosecutor and the magistrate, maybe?
I think that was just extra expenses, what we budgeted for, because I think the year prior, we spent like 40-something thousand in extra legal fees, and that was for the lawsuits that we had. And I know we decreased it because we believe we don't have anything currently pending for this year.
Madam
Now,
Chair.
my question was, are we paying something in addition to what we pay him for his salary currently? Like in 2020, have we paid him, has he sent us a bill for anything that we've paid outside of what we've paid in his salary?
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
So first, Mr. Hedger is correct. There was it was to budget for additional costs that may be incurred, specifically, and this will address Ms. Underwood's question. We have 2 contract negotiations that are going to be coming up this year, collective bargaining agreements. And so those are considered extra or additional work outside of the contract. So the $15,000 was basically set aside to certainly provide for those services, those legal services in negotiating those contracts. And as Mr. Hedger rightly said, we did not anticipate any additional litigation. We didn't have anything as of the end of last year. And so at this point, we still don't foresee any additional litigation at this particular time.
Ms. Underwood, did you ask about what was being paid for the prosecutor?
No, just like, what are we paying just Mr. Dieters? Like, so
Okay.
The last time we met with him, I think he mentioned that he does extra work or something he was saying. I wasn't really understanding what he meant. And so I was just wondering if he's sent us, like, I'm trying to get a sense of how much of a deal his proposal is, but, you know, just honestly putting that to the side, I really like what Ms. Hall just suggested. So I think I'm gonna steal your suggestion, Ms. Hall, and run with that. I think that's a great idea. Just, you know, paying the solid amount every month and then receiving something saying how much of that was spent by the firm.
So my other question would, how would that go into play if we're expecting him to do the prosecutor's duties in court?
Madam Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
real quick, offhand, do you know how much we pay the prosecutor and the magistrate?
I believe one is like per session, maybe $300 or $400. And I believe the prosecutor is a little under 10, if I'm not mistaken, like 9 something.
I think if we paid Mr. Dieters like just by the hour, then he would just get paid, and we include like the prosecutor's duties in that, then we would just be paying him for the number of hours that he did work for us every month.
I like it.
I don't own it. Miss Hall owns that.
Mm-hmm. Hence the reason I didn't want to mess that up.
I just think we need to be careful because that is a good idea, a great idea, but we just need to be careful when it comes to if he's going to charge us, if someone shoots him an email, if someone calls him and he sits on the phone for 45 minutes, that's an hour. So we just need to be careful about that, because then those hours could add up. I mean, just considering if Mr. Mosby needs to call him twice a week, that's an hour. And if he has to research that hour, that's another hour. So just, if we're going to limit it to 10, council's going to have to eat up 2 and then somebody else another 2. That's just,
Madam
So
Mayor,
I
I would
guess
actually concur with that. In fact, I think we just gotten a great example of what you are talking about. Today, there was a request by a council member, and so a report was given to us to explain, but I don't know at this particular point, I don't know how many hours went into that. So so I do think that I totally agree with the mayor that, we have to be very discriminating, when it comes to that, particularly if individual council members, put in individual requests, because that's going to add up quickly.
I guess my question would be for Ms. Hall, how much does it cost for us to pay for the OPERS?
So there's the city's portion and then the employees portion. And so our portion would be approximately 10% of the salary. So, and then we also have FICA and workers' comp. So like I said before, we would just have to make adjustments in the general fund to keep him on as an employee.
Ms. Hall, what are the rough percentages for FICA and workman's comp?
Workman's comp, I believe, is approximately 2% of the salary. It depends. I would have to look to see what our rates are. FICA is usually about 6.2. So.
Okay, cool. Just a ballpark. I'm not going to take those to heart. I was just, yeah, cool. So as we go through this and we have more information and, more to think about, do we want to try and ask council during our next meeting for possibly a committee of the whole? Because we are in summer session, and so
I think that a committee of the whole would probably be the best thing. That way we can kind of compare our options and probably try to see, Ms. Hall, if you can just kind of be in on that, as well as Mayor Nichols, so we can kind of come to like what the best thing to do would be, because I think we all probably need to be on the same page.
Mm-hmm. So let's do this. Ms. Hall, could you possibly get us a cost comparison with going contractual versus an employee? And then Mr. Mosby, could you possibly get us like a pros and cons, like of both, just so that way when we do go to committee and get those out to the rest of council as soon as we can, so the way when we do go to a committee of the whole, everybody has the same kind of like two working documents in front of them and we don't have to keep reiterating things.
Can you clarify what you mean when you say pros and cons, please?
You know, pros, like, we're not going to have to pay OPERS and FICA, but a con is maybe we go over the allotted hours and this is what it'll be. Or maybe talk to Mr. Dieters and see if a 15-minute phone call constitutes as a hour used. I don't,
Okay.
just something that, you know.
Yeah, I understand. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Would anyone like to add any requests as far as that goes? Or remind me of our council rules. Mr. I think the president of council can call a committee of the whole. I know, Madam Mayor, you can call a special council meeting, right?
Correct.
Anybody can, you just need 3 council members to call a special council meeting. I actually just learned that last week.
Yeah,
So
you do
just need
only have to have
council
3
meetings. Or
Well, you
3 council
need
members.
3. Correct.
Are
So
you trying to have a committee of the whole or a special council meeting?
committee of the whole. I know that we could. Well, we can't call a special council meeting and a finance committee meeting, I don't think. However,
No.
right. However, because there's 3 of us, right? However, I forget who can call a committee of the whole. I think it's the president of council.
You can request one. Generally, council always requests it, and his purpose, he has to be there. He or she, the president, has to be there. You can suggest one, like during your meeting. He can call it, but you can suggest it.
Madam Chair, a little bit of clarification. I do believe the mayor, of course, can request a special meeting of the council, not a committee meeting, but a special meeting of council. But you made a comment, and I do believe that, like, for example, you have 3 members of council here in your committee meeting. If the 3 members agreed to a special meeting, obviously notification would have to be given out, but you would have the 3 members that are calling for or requesting, the special meeting. It would just have to be out, it'd have to be within the proper or allotted time frame. So I'm just hypothetically giving you an example. If the 3 of you said, we want to hold a special meeting next Tuesday, and you all agreed to it, then you would be able to, as long as all the members of council got the notification.
Okay. Hold on, I'm reading our council rules real quick.
Well, before we do
because-
that, I think we should just try to get a sense from Ms. Hall, how long it would take her to put together, and Mr. Mosby, like how long? I mean, I don't want to, set a meeting before we have an opportunity to actually kind of review and so we can discuss the whole, all of the options.
Yeah, Ms. Underwood, I would say that we would probably need about a week to finalize everything.
Cool. I can get a sense out for basically Tuesdays and Wednesdays. and Mondays, as long as there's no other meetings. My Mondays are pretty much blocked off through the summer too, so. But we have to work around vacations. So in our next meeting, I will ask under new business when we can all get together to discuss this. But our next council meeting is when? 3 weeks from now?
I thought that we had scheduled one just in case so we could do the second and third reading for something.
That's the 15th at 7, I believe.
Okay. Awesome. Cool. So then we'll work from there. Okay, so any other questions as far as item number 2? Cool. Moving along to CARES Act funding legislation. Mr. Mosby already did an awesome job of explaining this to us as far as what our anticipated funds would be. And Ms. Hall has already explained to us what our anticipated, well, our previous shortfall, but we don't know what our projections are going to be just yet. So, and then we would still ask for a FEMA reimbursement for any incurred costs. So when we do go to our next council meeting, we can say that this has been discussed in Finance Committee. Yeah? Does anybody have any questions or comments? Hello?
Sorry, Amber, I don't have
No,
it.
no, I don't have
Okay,
anything.
cool. Awesome. Like, I'm just like, Mr. Mosby,
I keep
anything
forgetting
that
you can't see us.
This will need an emergency clause to it. Is there one? Okay, so cool.
What needs an
Okay.
emergency clause? I'm sorry.
Mr. Mosby, I believe you said in an email that you would suggest adding an emergency clause to this? Is that correct?
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
yeah, there is a stipulation that comes with receiving, actually a qualification. We have to meet a condition, and that is council must pass legislation affirming that the funds will be used in accordance with federal guidelines. And that legislation must be passed before we will be able to receive the funds.
Okay.
So yeah, so yes. So to answer your question, yes, and yes, it should be an emergency so that we would be able to receive the funds as quickly as possible.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
Ms. Underwood, real quick, guys. So, fourth whereas right there, I think that we should add and declaring an emergency. And of course, we need the reason behind it, in which case behind it. We need to have Mr. Dieters right, so we're not doing it on the floor. Because in order for it to be an emergency, it first has to declare it's an emergency. And it needs to go in the title too. Emergency. Okay. Sorry, Miss Underwood. So, real quick recap. Mr. Mosby, if you want to send it to him, cool. If you want me to send it to him, cool. And CC me or CC you, vice versa, and the president of council. We do need to have him add the emergency clause in the title, and of course, after the fourth whereas, and the reason why. It can literally just say for the health and safety of our city during the coronavirus pandemic, whatever. But we definitely have to have that in there before we bring it out.
If you are adding it, then yeah, you can forward it to him if committee says, would
We
we
have
make
to
the
add it.
edits? Right, but
We
if the
have to
committee
add
saying
it.
that if we're doing it, then yeah, we can send it to Mr. Dieters
Okay.
and get the appropriate changes.
Cool. I'll get it over there to him because in order to declare an emergency, it is my understanding that we have to declare the emergency and put it in the body somewhere in order for it to be legal. If Mr. Miller Novak was here, I'd give him a shout out because I don't own that, but that's one thing that has been pounded in our heads. So, cool. So it also appears as though as Ms. Seawold has attached it. Okay, so is the committee cool with asking Mr. Dieters to add the appropriate emergency clauses?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. Mr. Mosby, if you would like to reach out to the clerk and let her know that she will be getting an updated version, that would save both time, energy, and patience in our next meeting.
Yes, I'll let her know.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so anything else on that one, or are we ready to keep going?
I think we're good to go to the next one.
Awesome.
We are good to go. I
So-
actually answered my own question. I'm sorry.
Okay, cool, sorry. So our police department software, Ms. Hull did briefly touch on this earlier. So it would be around $10,000 for the initial investment, plus annual dues and subscriptions, maintenance, what have you. She did let me know that she would email CMI. Ms. Hull, I don't know who CMI are. Could you let the committee know who CMI is?
We currently use CMI as our financial system.
Okay.
And the mayor actually just brought that to our attention that they also have police software. So my intent was to reach out to them to see if they'd offer us a discount if their system was comparable to the one that Chief Schran is looking at.
Awesome. Good catch, Madam Mayor. So,
Did you need me, Amber? I'm sorry.
no, I said good catch on that. I was going to say Miss Nichols, but then I always correct myself. Madam Mayor, good looking out.
Okay.
Cool. So outside of that, I know once again, we're rough right now, and I'm not trying to write blank checks left and right for stuff, but this has been brought up for quite some time, and I think that this is also something that is very, very, very important. Do you see, Ms. Hall, anywhere that we could potentially make cutbacks if we had to, or figure out how to afford this somehow?
For the software, what are we talking about?
Yes, affording the police software. So say worst case scenario, it's $10,000. I know that of course we can cut some stuff, but we're running pretty lean. Do you think that that is something that is optional to find this money to get this software?
I can take a look at the police department's current budget to see where they are. I don't see the 10 grand being an issue right now, but I'd have to do more digging to make sure that that would be okay. I believe it's budgeted. I think someone said that it was budgeted for 2020, but I can double check to make sure.
I am pretty certain that we did budget it for 2020, which was kind of around the conversation of why we hadn't got to it yet. And I know that we're being very conservative as well as we should be, but I thought that we did budget this already. Christian?
I'm not sure without
Mr.
the budget to know actually if we budgeted for it or not. I don't.
Okay.
We had already, and I had already discussed with the chief, looking for an alternative. He's already narrowed it down to, I think, the one that he believes will work best, the one that will coordinate the best with other police jurisdictions. But I do think that Ms. Bailey, your estimate is pretty close, based on the numbers that he gave me just very quickly. It would take the initial purchase. Basically, what it would require, we would buy it for, I believe it's $5,000, and then what we would have to do is transfer the data from the previous company to the current company, which would be about $6,000. So the initial investment would be approximately $11,000.
Right. Yeah. Agreed. I feel like I sat through a whole presentation about this. Oh. Okay. So I guess what we're going to do is just check back in maybe our next finance meeting, or if you guys can dig a little bit and let us know of the feasibility of it.
Well, as I said, we're already, most of that work has already been done. So he is actually in the process of, like I said, talking with the the company or a company right now that would be best, that he believes would be best suited for us, that would help us coordinate best with the surrounding jurisdictions, which would include, of course, like Mount Healthy, Springfield Township, Coleraine Township, the city, and the university. So that's what he was primarily looking for, and I believe that part is already done as of my conversation with him, just as of today, by the way.
Okay. So, Ms. Hall, for the sake of shopping around, could you, when you talk to CMI, could you also ask them if their program integrates or can be integrated with the program that Mr. Schran is using? Which I don't know what it's called, but
I will.
I like the idea. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I stated that I will ask and find out.
Awesome. I like the idea of seeing if we could get a discount through CMI since we use them for our finance software, and then if it'll integrate into what they're using possibly, or kind of work together. That may kill two birds with one stone. So, cool. Any questions? Comments, concerns, problems? Cool. So, last one on our agenda.
Hey,
Special. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
A special. Yep. Ms. Hull?
I was just muting my phone. I was talking to my child. I apologize.
I got a 5-year-old. I completely understand. Okay, so real quick, the last one on our agenda is a special revenue fund for the down payment assistance program. So we already know basically that we increased rental rates to start this program. I basically, Ms. Hall, Mr. Mosby, from one of you guys, when we created a city arts fund, the finance director at the time gave me the line item to plug in of one that we weren't using, a funding line, and I would just need the funding one, as the legislation has been previously written and just needs to be modified a little bit. So can one of you guys get me over the funding line, like 501, 701?
Are you asking if there's a like in the general fund, a fund code?
No, I know. No, there's not one. So basically, I know that, yes, we need to create one, and I just need a number to where to start it at. So I can't remember offhand what the City Arts Fund is. I know that it has like $100 or something like that in there, which is neither here nor there, but I basically just need a line item, a fund number that we're not currently using.
All right, I can talk to Ms. Hall about that, because it really should be, but we can talk about where that is, but it should be relevant to the particular subject matter. So in this case, if it's, something for housing, it should probably be related to buildings and inspections, but Ms. Hall and I will discuss that tomorrow.
Cool. Okay. Anything else? Anyone else?
That's about it for me.
Amber, I did have a question. So for the grant program, do you have anything written up for that yet, or are you working on that now?
I'm working on that now, but so we recently increased the funds, right? The rental rate. Okay, so now basically our next step is to earmark the funds, 50% of the revenue into a special account. And so before we can move on to the grant process, which I do have started for sure, we need to at least get a fund established to start earmarking 50% of those funds so it can be referenced into the grant body as a whole.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Cool.
Let me know if you need help on anything like that. I can help with that.
Okay, for sure, I always do. We can get together and do, so in essence, when the City Arts Fund was created, I still have the piece of legislation from that, and basically what we're going to do is reword it a hair and then put in the appropriate line item. I'm hoping to have that. Well, I know I will have that done before our next finance meeting. Well, our next regularly scheduled finance meeting, or a special meeting if we call one after you guys go on vacation or before you go on vacation. But we need to get that part done. So I'm hoping to have both of them ready for finance committee in our next meeting.
All right. Just let me know if you need help with anything with that.
Awesome. And then I think that one last thing with that being said is I think that we, even before pre-coronavirus, pre-COVID, we knew that we were going to be strapped for cash this year. So it kind of just hit us at the most opportune time. And with that being said, I do think that as members of finance, we need to start brainstorming maybe new possible revenue sources or increasing, I hate to say it, taxes somehow. We need to start having those conversations more sooner than later, because as I don't want to say, historically is what I was trying to stay away from. It can be quite a long process if we're looking at levies or raising income taxes, but I think that for the sake of the city moving forward and the financial strain on the city, we need to start actively trying to figure out revenue streams.
I actually have an idea, but it's probably not a good idea or not a good time to talk about it, but I'll reach out to you and the mayor because that's who I need to talk to about it.
Okay, cool. I mean, so I know that we have like the bag tax being looked at as well. Not gonna net a whole bunch of money there, but in order for us to improve our city and do the things that we want to see, we're gonna have to find sources of revenue. We can't keep getting blood from a turnip. So,
And actually, there are a lot of things that we need to do. Like you said, I wouldn't feel comfortable asking for an increase in taxes when there are some little small things that we haven't done that we should do. We need to get into the place where we make our city presentable and we make people want to come here. So that is a conversation
absolutely.
that we need to have because, you know, going and driving through the city every day, I don't care how much trash I pick up. it seems to accumulate more. And I think that there needs to be an accountability, not just for homeowners, but for the businesses as well. So if we hold them accountable, then that would make other businesses want to come in. In a nutshell, we just need to clean up the city. And then we could talk about the different revenue sources and, just even with administration to go out and to recruit businesses that potentially might want to come here. So yeah, if we could schedule that meeting at some point.
Cool. So I think, Tracy, I'm sorry, Madam Mayor, are you
It's
still in school, out of school?
I had to go back on the 1st. I work 7:30 until 4 o'clock every day. I'm not done until the end of June, but it is summer. So, I can make myself available. The office is open 9 to 3. So pretty much I have to be there before then. I can try to, but then it doesn't matter because I have time where if I need to slide out or if you need to come there, that's not an issue at all because we are like very slow. The things that I'm doing is just things that I'm responsible for. And if, I can pace myself if you let me know.
Okay, so for me, I am like in Miss Underwood. I know you are very busy too. I am like a Tuesday, Wednesday warrior. So next Wednesday is the only day that I couldn't meet in the foreseeable future, and that is because my kid has an assessment at Bethany School. Fingers crossed.
Yay!
So I know, fingers crossed. So gotta plug my kid for a second. So do you
I
guys
have 2 Bethany
wanna-
School graduates, so yes.
Okay. Yeah. See. So, well,
I have a
maybe you can
family
wrap me
member
up.
there.
Can I get some letters of recommendation, please, then, ladies? I mean, what's up? But anyhow,
Absolutely.
we'll talk
Absolutely.
about that at that meeting. So, you guys want to shoot for the next Tuesday? What is next Tuesday? I don't care to come to the school. I mean, I don't mind a bit. Next Tuesday is the 16th.
I think I'm okay on the 16th. I don't see anything in my calendar. Of course, I don't mean anything. So I think I'm good on the 16th.
I'm fine, so I'll be there. Just tell me what time.
So,
Earlier
okay.
works better for me.
Cool. Cool.
You have a
I mean, I'm game.
time?
I can do like 9:30. Y'all gotta let me roll out of bed because I'm up at 6 every other day. So I can do like 9:30 on Tuesday morning.
That's fine.
Cool. Miss Nichols, you
Okay.
cool with that?
Yes.
Okay. Now, other than that, if there's nothing else, I make a motion to adjourn.
Well, I think I'll make the motion to adjourn, and maybe Mr. Hedrick could second it, since you're the chair.
Okay.
I'll second that.